Why buff Hwei when he's arguably the strongest mage right now? So what data or argument are you using to say that Hwei is the strongest mage? That would be my question for you. So right now he has a 10% presence in pro. So from that metric, he doesn't seem like the strongest mage. Ari seems a lot better than him. If you go into solo queue and you look at his if you look at like solo queue pick rates, right? He doesn't seem to be the most popular mid laner. That's fine. Popular doesn't necessarily mean strength, right? If you look at win rates, his win rate's pretty low, which is fine. Like, Hwei's a hard to play character. Like, you could see, if you look at win rate, his win rate's pretty low, which again, that's fine. He's a hard to play character, right? His ban rate's not particularly high, 10%. That's chillin'. His pick rate and ban rate is going down over time. It's got a decent win rate and higher MMR, although that's evened out because remember, high MMR just has higher win rates. And so it's kind of a question of like, I look at it and I'm like, I'm not really sure by looking at anything that like I would say like arguably the strongest mage. Now, he might be powerful, but I think that the statement that he's number one is maybe a bit of a stretch. Is a bit of a stretch. And specifically why we're buffing him is, again, MSI is a pro-focused patch. And so when we looked at Hwei, we were like, huh, this guy definitely could be played by pros. He's a cool dude. His pick rate's been falling off in pro, so maybe there's something we could do here to help him out a bit and, get him a bit more into the meta, because, he's a cool dude to see in pro play. So, yeah. Why does the patch contain no ASOL nerfs? He's strong in solo queue and in pro play. So, again, I would encourage, like, what does it mean to be strong in pro play? ASOL has, like, I think a 15 to 20% pick rate in pro play. So he's definitely viable in pro. But saying he's, like, strong or dominating pro, I think is a bit of a stretch. Again, doesn't mean he can't succeed. Doesn't mean he's not, useful there. But saying that he's, like, a dominant pro pick, I think is a stretch. He does want to have one of the highest win rates in solo queue. But we believe that's, like, kind of generally correct for him. He doesn't have a lot of outplay potential, and so if you compare him to a character like Yasuo, you would probably expect that he has a higher win rate than a character like Yasuo to achieve the same actual strength, because he just doesn't have a lot of agency going on. Additionally, unlike when he came out, there's not really anybody banning Aurelion Sol. So the fact that he has a pretty good win rate in solo queue and a pretty good pick rate, it doesn't seem to be the case that, like, at least currently, people are like, this character is BS, we need to get rid of him, right? That might change over time. Like, over time, it might be, now his ban rate's picking up, and people are catching on. This guy's broken, right? Like, I'm not going to say he's perfectly balanced right now, but I'm saying, like, at the moment, there doesn't seem to be much to indicate that, like, he needs an immediate nerf. Doesn't mean he won't get nerfed in the future, though. When we do nerfs, a lot of times, not always, a lot of times we nerf for the current as opposed to the future. Again, there are sometimes we nerf for the future. As an example, the Zeri nerfs we're doing right now are for the future. We expect that if we leave her in her current state, she's going to be even more present in pro and even more powerful. And so we're like, okay, we're probably going to need to, like, preempt that. But a lot of times when we're nerfing a character, we're going to nerf them for, like, what players are currently experiencing as opposed to, like, what they might experience in the future. And the reason we do that is because nerfing a character that you currently doesn't feel like it's broken, even if it might be broken in the future, is, like, doesn't really get you a lot. It ends up usually just feeling like players look at that and be like, why did they do that? Like, why'd Riot do that? That didn't make sense in that case. Like, as an example, there's a lot of characters right now in League of Legends that I could, like, go through and, like, look at some data and, like, tell you these characters are clearly broken, they're incredibly strong, and no one's picking them. And we will eventually have to nerf these characters if they ever get picked a lot. Right? That is the general idea. But we're not going to do that because no one's picking them, right? So it's like if if Singed Mid beats you to death in a forest and no one is around to complain about it, is he really OP? Right? Like, it's like, that's a really weird analogy. I don't know if I'm supposed to, okay, anyways. It's mainly like we gotta, you balance the game for the player experience to some degree, right? And if you're like trying to get ahead of the player experience and like say like, I know better than all of you and this character is broken, so even though none of you realize it or experience it, I'm just gonna like preemptively get rid of it. It's like, that can create a lot of feelings of like Riot stifles creativity, Riot doesn't want people to try anything new, there's no point in trying anything new because we know that if it was actually good, Riot would have already nerfed it, right? There's a lot of value in the fact that like, as a League player, you can find stuff that might be good, as opposed to like having to believe that Riot will just preemptively get rid of anything that might be able to shift the meta. Yeah, so that's kind of the thoughts there. A strong example of like this is actually Singed Mid. I don't know if he's currently OP. He probably isn't. But back when Predator was really good, I'll just double check, make sure. Back when Predator was really good, so he's not currently as broken as he used to be, but back when Predator was really good, here, I'll go find I'll just show you some examples here. So Singed Mid right now, basically for the history of forever, like the last 3 years, has had one of the highest win rates in mid lane. But for a couple seasons ago, this win rate was at like 56, 57%. Singed Mid. Really, 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 really high. And it was like this for like multiple years. And no one played it. And so you might be like, oh, so it's fine, right? But actually, like, we were fairly convinced it was broken because of just how above everybody else it was. But, you know, there wasn't really any point in nerfing it. And then eventually it caught on. And then eventually we nerfed it. But, like, even right now, if I'd argue Singed Mid is probably still a very strong pick because this win rate here, we see every single patch. And sometimes it goes to 55. Sometimes it goes to 56. Like, and so it is very likely that if Singed Mid got popular, we would have to nerf him. Don't have to nerf him now, it's totally fine. Again, we're not going to preempt this stuff. But there are a lot of characters in League of Legends that legitimately, the only thing that's between them and a nerf is the fact that no one believes that they're strong. There's a lot of characters out there that are undiscovered, basically. A classic example of this from like years and years and years ago was AP Tryndamere. None of you will remember this. This is like League boomer talk. This was like in season 2 or 3. But Tryndamere was in the game. He had an AP ratio on his Q, gave it insane healing, and he had it there for years. And no one played AP Tryndamere because just no one thought, oh, AP Tryndamere, that's the way to play. And it was completely broken, completely degenerate, completely unfair. And then eventually, one patch it caught on after multiple years of being in the game. And then it started taking over solo queue, and it was like, wow, this is crazy. And so we ended up nerfing it, right? But like, there wasn't a lot of value in preemptively nerfing a character that nobody played. Like, if we had nerfed AP Tryndamere a year before he caught on, everybody would have been like, why are you even doing that? Like, these AP ratios are like token. They don't mean anything. Like, what's the point of getting rid of them, right? But the reality was they were really good. It's just no one knew that AP Tryndamere was the thing. Singe is terrible. Please buff. I'll get on it. ZILEAN, for example. Oh, yeah. So I am of the opinion that ZILEAN is one of those characters that's actually like very degenerate to game state. And if he was more popular, we'd probably need to nerf him. But ZILEAN's gotten to chill for like, he's just been chilling in the same spot for like 6-7 years, which is fine. That's fine because he's not really played that much. So it doesn't really matter all that much. And like, he doesn't really affect the state of the game. But like, if ZILEAN was like the most popular support, the game would be like pretty degraded, and we'd probably have to do something about it. But again, he's not super popular, so it doesn't really make sense to just preemptively change him.